Hi, and welcome today to the World Networking Podcast, Philosophical Detours number 3. I appreciate you being here, and we're going to get started with a new topic today. This is something I was diving into this morning as I was preparing for this episode. I wanted to find something new again. I've been enjoying that. So we're going into epistemology, the study of knowledge. Now, epistemology is basically like saying philosophy in a nutshell. You know, the study of knowledge, that's basically the root of all philosophies right there. So you could say this is like the stem cell of philosophy, so to speak. And in that sense, it's easy to identify similarities in other people's work while looking around and trying to identify people that potentially share common interests with this type of topic. In my search, I encountered an individual that really struck me as quite unique and interesting in her background. Madeleine L'engle is this amazing author who happened to be this writer of A Ring of Endless Light. And it's a story that is fiction, but it encounters many points that, from brief summaries that I've read, capture a real sense of reality. And it conveys the idea that fiction doesn't have to be always disconnected from reality. Even though it's not fact, it can still have facts intertwined. So I felt like that was an engaging topic to research, and I dove a little deeper. I was pulling myself along and found out that she was born in 1918, and she lived to be 88 years old, actually. She basically was trying to always write throughout most of her life, and this ended up being something she was passionate about. She put out different publishing books, and there's all sorts of resources about her online that talk about how she did all these great things for writing in that time, and branching different identities of thought and theist belief through her stories. So if you join me today, we're going to dive into a few quotes that I have from reaching through and reading some things. Now, the first quote I wanted to go over today was actually quite interesting. The quote starts, "It's hard to let go of anything we love. We live in a world which teaches us to clutch, but when we clutch, we're left with a fistful of ashes." I connected with this one because it's life is a fleeting concept. We have limited time, and that's something that most people are aware of, and it affects the way we monitor situations. It affects the way we choose to live a life. And from the knowledge of it all, it must innately mean it affects our way of perceiving knowledge and perceiving avenues of finding it. So, optimistic, pessimistic, they both exist within this realm of knowing that it's hard to let go of something that you are used to doing or used to having in place of a change. Now, I know with Stoicism, that's something that led me to like the teachings of it, is to help me understand that concept a little bit more, to help me understand the concept of what change really means in one's life. It's hard to adapt and find strength in those kinds of situations, but if you read and you observe and study the environment around you, then you have a better chance of understanding those things and pulling things together that might help you or help another generation proceed into this seeking of knowledge, this journey of existence. Now, the second quote we're going to touch on is, and there's no getting around the fact that all life lives at the expense of another life. This goes with multiple meanings. There's nature, the course of nature, and even just the existence of a thing, of an object in a state of nature where you have like rock, you need to dig for a project. You need to dig for survival. Maybe you're an animal digging for worms. These things end up becoming part of the adventure that you're trying to survive along. In a lot of these situations, it is hard to know where to look for an answer. But if you don't understand the importance of why things happen in the way that they happen, then you can be led astray even worse, be blinded to things. And it's good to try to be aware, to actively heighten your senses with something productive, with something optimistic. And even if it's challenging, it can be really good for your health and for those around you. Now, the third thing I wanted to touch on here would be, there is in God, some say, a deep but dazzling darkness. Now, this was interesting from the standpoint of poetry, of course, just because the way she stated this and phrased this was very well done. Very powerful message in few words. And if you think about that meaning, in history and humanity's history, especially with a sense of God, a sense of higher power, it is intimidating. It is a dazzling darkness, so to speak, where you don't know. There's unknowns, and unknowns can be perceived as darkness. And that's something that I really think is helpful in understanding our nature and things, and knowing when we can overcome our limits, because there's so many things that we don't understand and we have yet to further explore about ourselves, even if it's just within a lifetime and it's just at the personal level. There's always something new to find out. There's always something new to be a part of. And whether or not we choose to be optimistic or pessimistic, it is still something that is within the natures around us. And in this fact, I think that makes this quote very powerful and something I really can appreciate. Now, the last quote I wanted to go over from the book would be, when you cut yourself really badly, it doesn't hurt for a while. You don't feel anything. Death, our reaction to death, is sort of like that. You don't feel anything at all. And then later on, you begin to hurt. Oh, I think that this was interesting due to how, again, the phrasing was put. It really speaks into how different people's grieving processes are and how things affect each other. And it's honestly interesting to see what another person's perspective is every time when it comes to matters of grievance, matters of darkness. That's why it's a little hard to speak on these subjects, because they are intense. This is an intense writing. I can tell from just these excerpts, like that connection that she had with her writing was very intimate and spiritual to a sense, where the aspects of humanity around us come into play in a painting of literature. And that inspires me to want to create personally. I really think that doing these weekly, trying to keep on that weekly basis a little bit more, would actually be beneficial to me. And that's why I've decided to start publishing this today again. I know that I just said in the last episode that I was going to slow down a little bit. But with these episodes, I think this is healthy for me right now. And it gets me out of my head, I want that change. And I want to pull myself towards that change wherever I can. So I hope you guys can stand with me through some weekly episodes of this, and we're going to have fun. We're going to explore more topics around people like this. I think it's healthy, and I look forward to doing more. We will connect again. Thanks for being here at the World Networking Podcast.